Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon session, Make Your Website Work For You. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Petia Abdur-Razzaaq, and in addition to being a Grow with Google speaker, I also wear a few other hats, the main one being that I own a digital marketing agency in New York City called the Stylista Group. In case you're wondering about the Grow with Google program, Grow with Google is an initiative that helps people prepare for work, find jobs, and of course, grow their businesses using Google's tools. Today, you're going to learn how to create a website that supports your overall business goals. Whether you're launching a new website or sprucing up an old one, this workshop will help you learn to get the most out of your site. Before we get started, this presentation is brought to you in collaboration with some amazing organizations, so I would like to open the floor to my co-hosts this afternoon to introduce themselves as well as tell you guys more about their organizations. So here goes.
Hi, my name's Tasha Penwell, and I appreciate everybody coming in and seeing and learning more about how we can, you guys can work to build your websites. A little bit about me: I am the program manager here at Hocking College. I'm a computer science program manager. I teach courses related to web development and content management. I'm also an instructor for social media strategy and data analytics. I tell my students, like, you can build the best website, the prettiest, the most responsive, but if nobody finds it, it needs to be found to reach your audience. On the side, I also do have a freelancing business. It's called Pretty Nerdy, just because I am very nerdy about learning anything when it comes to web development and social media strategy. And so I bring that experience with me as well. I specialize working with small businesses. That's kind of where I enjoy working with the most. In addition to working at Hocking College, it's a small community college. I like that hands-on approach with everybody. If you have any questions on anything, you can see my contact information right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Hake, and I'm coming to you live from Youngstown, Ohio. I am the Director of IT at a nonprofit called Oak Hill Collaborative. We are a nonprofit that is focused on bridging the digital divide in the Mahoning Valley, and if we can succeed at doing that, we'd like to just keep on going. The digital divide is just a way of describing those who are left behind as technology progresses and becomes more advanced and more involved in our day-to-day life. People aren't really, keeping up on how to, learn this new technology, and they're afraid to learn because they feel they have fallen too far behind. And we take a three-pronged approach to helping these people by giving them the tools that they need, be it computers, Microsoft Office, a Windows key, whatever gets them up to speed. We also educate them how to use these tools by running workshops and webinars like the one you're attending right now. And we also are what we consider a broadband champion in the area. We are really big on connectivity and making sure that those who have their new computer and have the know-how to use it can connect to the internet and do all of the things that we do on the internet every day so that they don't feel like they're falling behind. To learn more about our mission, we post about pretty much everything that we do on our website at oakhillcollaborative.org. And it's from there you can also find our various social medias and learn about other events that we hold. And before I sign off here, I just want to say thank you again with Google for putting this together. And thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Zach Hubert, and I'm joined with my colleague, Linda Fairweather. And we are business specialist librarians in the Business and Workforce Department at the Toledo-Lucas County Public Library. And you can see on the screen our services that we have in this department, and we serve businesses and nonprofits of all shapes and sizes. We also offer free programming, and if you take a look at our website, ToledoLibrary.org/ business, you'll be able to see some of our upcoming programs. I know we have another Google live stream coming up on May 5th, as well as some coming up through the early summer months. So you can see we help with research for businesses, learning competition, creating business plans. We just want to say thank you so much, Petia, for doing this, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to Grow with Google for putting this important webinar on. I'm Tamara McDuff, and I am the current chapter chair of SCORE Greater Rochester. Since 1964, SCORE has existed to help give free mentoring to small businesses to help you start, run, and grow your business. And we have been able to help over 11 million businesses in that 50 years. You can visit our website at greaterrochester.score.org to get your own mentor. You can click on Find a Mentor, put in your zip code. You will be matched up with someone in your local area. Or you can look for your mentor through keywords. So if you wanted website design, business planning, you can find a mentor that way. And if you visit our website, you can find out some of the webinars that we have coming up. And we proudly interpret our webinars in American Sign Language as well. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook. And also our new podcast will start to be posted on our Facebook page as well. So thank you very much for attending.
Michelle?
I'm so sorry, Petia. I realized I was on mute.
Oh, no worries. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I want to thank you all so much for attending this webinar today and for Grow with Google and providing an amazing opportunity for our participants. I'm Michelle Chen, the job developer of CMP located in the New York City area. And I have been working with Petia for a couple of webinars focused with job seekers, and I think these webinars have been very valuable to our participants, so thank you for that. And as you know, CMP, we're a private non-for-profit community-based organization with a mission to promote economic self-sufficiency and career advancement through, equipping job seekers with educational skills, credential preparation, leadership development, and also entrepreneurship opportunities. We also offer biannual job fairs, traditionally in Queens for March and Manhattan in September. Usually the event is free, but since last year, the job fairs have been virtual. Again, thank you so much, Petia.
You are very welcome, Michelle. And yes, Michelle has been a steady participant in these webinars ever since last year. So it's always comforting to have a familiar voice on with me. Okay, and Tanya, welcome. This is your first webinar, correct?
Yes, it is. This is my first webinar, and I'm very excited to be partnered with Grow with Google team and to be able to offer these wonderful programs. Again, my name is Tanya Wilson. I'm with the Ohio Small Business Development Center, located at Columbus State Community College in Columbus, Ohio. We are similar to SCORE, who you heard earlier. We have been around since 1985. We are a national network, and so we have about 25 centers in Ohio, 1,000 across the U.S. You can go to America's SBDCs, SBDC.org, and find your local SBDC. And what we do is that we provide free one-on-one advising. And we do also about 200 trainings per year, similar to this one, where we help individuals, as long as they are considered a small business, which is under 500 employees, we help businesses in any stage, whether it is just they have an idea and they don't know what to do with it, all the way to I've been in business for 20 years and I need assistance in a succession plan or looking for a target audience. This particular program is very important to us. As was said earlier, it is very important that we do get out and do marketing in the digital world. And so anything that we can do to help bring this information to our audience, we are excited to be a part of. And so this is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to us anytime, and we'd love to be able to assist.
All right, thank you. And for all of the panelists, feel free, of course, to use the chat box. And for the attendees, if you have any specific questions that you want to ask any of our co-hosts today, you can feel free to also either use the chat box and send it to them directly, or you can just put the question in the Q&A box. We all have access to the Q&A box, and we will be able to answer those questions directly for you. Okay, so someone has their hand raised. Okay, I think that was Sarah, and I think she's all set now because she was able to figure out her audio. Okay, so I think we're just about ready to get started. Here is my contact information. You will be receiving a copies of today's presentation, as well as a link to download the recording from your respective host organization, meaning that if you heard about this webinar from CMP or Oak Hill, they will be the ones that will be sending the follow-up materials directly to you once I turn them over to them, of course. And I would like to ask you to give them at least 24 hours before you start to panic and say that you haven't received the follow-up material, okay? So if you definitely don't get anything from them, today's Wednesday, by let's say end of day tomorrow, first thing Friday, then you should be worried. Otherwise, just be a little patient and you will be getting a hard copy of today's presentation, as well as the link to download the recording so that you can follow up and also maybe follow along as you improve your own website, or if you're building your website, use it as a guide to build your website from scratch. You can always feel free to follow me on social media. My handles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are @StylistaGroup, and I am constantly sharing small business best practices, not only Google related. We do a lot of Facebook and Instagram at my agency as well. So lots of great information that you can access from my social media just by following me. If you guys learned anything that you didn't know in today's presentation, I would really appreciate it in the Q&A box if you can share what those specific things are. Google is really serious about developing presentations that are useful to you, the attendees, and so it's great for them to get feedback, even if it's just one thing that you learned in today's presentation. Just write in Q&A, you know, Petia, I didn't know that you can do XYZ, because we're being asked to give them that feedback. Also, if there is something that you were hoping to learn that wasn't covered in the presentation, that you think should be a part of the presentation, they're also looking for that kind of feedback, because the goal is to provide information that is immediately useful for the people who attend these sessions. Okay, so let's get started. So we know that today more than ever, small businesses are getting online to connect with consumers, and the overall goal for all of this, of course, is to drive sales. After all, many of us are connecting with businesses from our own homes. It's important to make sure you update your website with critical information, news, and announcements affecting the operation of your business, because that in turn affects your customers. So the starting point would be to review your website to identify products, services, and operations that may be affected. Then, add information and resources to help your customers to understand these changes. And of course, I'm talking about the current situation that we've all been dealing with over the last 12 months. Many things that we took for granted, or many things that we didn't really have to pay attention to before the global pandemic, now have become really important to the operation of our businesses. And so if you have not taken the time to do an in-depth review of your website and update certain things, now will definitely be the time to do so. I know that it seems that things are taking a turn for the better, but we never know. Now, you may want to create a video message or series of messages. And video is really important for websites because it helps with what's called search engine optimization, and we'll talk more about that further on in the presentation. So videos help you to be found, but also videos are very useful in conveying messages. So everyone is busy these days, and it's much easier for us all to receive messages in video format than it is for us to sit down and actually read and process a lot of text. This is a time of uncertainty for us all, And so whatever you can do to assure your customers, whether it's informational or inspirational, will be helpful and appreciated. As many businesses have shifted or continue to shift their operations online, it's more important than ever that your website works for your business. Let's start by reviewing web design. When people think of web design, they often think of the overall template and the look and feel of their website. That is the graphics and the layout that appears consistently throughout the website. However, design is just one component of web design. Within the graphic template, there are lots of common elements that appear on most websites, and some of these are the header or top section of the website, and the header usually includes a company logo in the left corner, and most visitors expect that the logo will link to the home page of the website. Then, of course, at the bottom is where we find the footer of the website, and the footer usually includes important links such as contact information, supplementary information, and copyright information. Let's talk more about navigation. Navigation is usually found horizontally across the top of the site below the header, or sometimes is displayed vertically on the left side of the website. The web design should lay out a set of guidelines that keep web pages consistent with regard to things like colors, font sizes, font styles, and types of content. Some websites are designed and built from scratch, and we call those types of websites custom-built websites. However, many websites use a content management system, also referred to as a CMS, like Shopify, Wix, or WordPress. Now, how many of you who have existing websites are currently using Shopify, Wix, or WordPress? And you can just answer if you like in the questions box. I just always like to do sort of a mini poll to see what kind of CMS systems that small business owners are using. So most CMS options include web-based tools to easily build, customize, and update a website. And I highly recommend that if you're a small business owner and you're thinking of revamping your website, or you're building one from scratch right now, that you absolutely use one of the content management systems that we talked about here, any of them, Shopify, Wix, or WordPress. If you have an e-commerce site, most small businesses use Shopify. WordPress is also a common choice, because even if you invest in having someone build the website for you, you can be trained. The value of using a content management system is that it's very easy for you, the business owner, or someone on your staff to make updates after the initial design. So I would say, you know, if you have to choose, some people also choose to have the web developer continue to make updates. You know, that can become costly over time. If you're thinking that may be a little bit too much for you and you have to choose, I would choose to have the website be professionally built and then have that person train you on how to make updates yourself. Of course, there are many options out there and all of them are a little different. But if you're just getting started, review your options and find the software that you yourself would be most comfortable using. And this relates to the updates I was mentioning before. Whether you're building a website from scratch or you're going to decide to use a content management system, all the principles from today's workshops will apply, so you don't have to worry about that. So in today's presentation, we're going to look at 6 characteristics of a great website. Remember that a website is not all about design. Design is important, but if you just have a pretty brochure that does nothing to drive business, then you're not really utilizing or maximizing the value of having a website. So you need to ask yourself these questions as I outline what determines a great website. A great website is goal-oriented, so you need to ask yourself, how does your current website or your new website, how does it help you grow your business? It's organized and easy to search. It's useful. So the question to ask here is, does your website provide useful information, content about your products and services? A great website is also functional. It's intuitive to use on any device, especially mobile. And last but not least, it's findable by search engines. So let's start by thinking about the goal of your website. What is the purpose of your website? Many business owners know that building a website is an important early step. But a website can be a lot more useful than it just being an online business card or beautiful business brochure. With some advanced planning, you can create a site that helps your business to grow. But how do you want to grow? This is another question to ask yourself. In order to get these questions, you need to start by defining goals. Ask yourself, why exactly do you want to build a website? What do you want it to do? Think of your site as a tool that can help you achieve business goals. Of course, the goals will vary from business to business, but here are some general examples that you can use as a guideline. You can use your website to build company brand awareness, to generate leads, to make sales, to re-engage customers, attract employees, provide customer support, and much more. Next, think about your target audience. Who is this website for? This will influence how you will build your site to achieve your goals. Your audience impacts everything from the graphic design to the words on the web pages. Your site should not try to be everything to everyone. Narrow your audience. Your website is not intended for the world. Defining your target audience might sound simple, but it actually takes some effort. It's relatively easy to define an audience with demographic data like gender, age, and employment status. However, if you stop there, it makes it more difficult for your business to stand out among your competition. Also, be careful of stereotypes. Stereotypes about your audience can lead to false assumptions. Ask yourself what makes your specific audience unique. And as I go through these questions, you guys, it's always helpful for you as you think of things to just jot them down so that when you do get the copy of the presentation and the recording, you're able to refer to any notes that you may have made so that you're actually able to make the changes that will move the needle for your business. Your goal is to develop a more complete picture of your target audience. For example, examine specific age ranges rather than one large range. Consider location, and not just location, but city, suburbs, rural, etc. Get as granular as possible. Sometimes it's even necessary to hone in on specific neighborhoods and zip codes. Consider education level. Consider type of employment. Consider hobbies and interests. What about values? Consider your ideal target audience's view of your product or service. Is it a necessity, or is it more of a luxury, something nice to have or a special treat? Once you have defined your audiences, keep them in mind when moving forward with designing your site. Now that you're thinking of your goals and your audience, let's add another consideration to the mix: tracking and measuring success. If you don't track and measure your website's performance, you won't have a way to make improvements and improvements should always be based on data. Here's another way to think about it. Let's say you made some modifications to your bicycle to make it go faster. If you didn't know what your maximum speed was before the modifications, how will you know if it worked? Similarly, you need to track and measure online success so you know what kind of improvements to make. You should always be testing. And there are lots of ways to do this, some of course with more accuracy than others. You can start by doing simple things like asking your customers how they found you. And if you're wondering how you can do so, you can ask them when they call you on the phone, when they visit your store if you're still operating in person, or when you're corresponding with them by email. You can also get more precise by setting up a trackable phone number. And if you advertise with Google, you can set up free call tracking, which records every time your ad results in a phone call. You can track the number of emails and form submissions that come into your business directly from your website. If you have an e-commerce website, you can also track sales. You can use web analytics software like Google Analytics to analyze visitor behavior on your website. We'll talk about Google Analytics briefly. So Google Analytics is a free tool that can help you to better understand your audience and their activity on your website. This information will help you to make more strategic decisions for your business. When reviewing your Google Analytics data, you will be able to do these things. Learn which search terms and sources drive the most traffic. See demographic information from your most profitable customers. Understand what content your audience is most interested in, and evaluate which channels drive the most conversions. So these are all things that you should be thinking about in terms of measuring the success of your website. To set up a Google Analytics account, first you must go to g.co/analytics. You'll start by either creating a new account or signing in with your existing analytics account if you already have one. The next step is that you'll need to set up a property in your analytics account if you haven't already done so. This may seem like it's complicated. However, all you need to do is follow the instructions to add the tracking code to your website so that you can collect the data in your reports. If you use a content management system, there may be a place specifically to enter your Google Analytics tracking ID. Try searching your content management system's help center for how to add Google Analytics codes. So it varies from different content management systems, but because this is a commonly used tool and a very effective tool that's used to measure website traffic, most content management systems actually have specific instructions as to how you can embed the tracking code on your website. And if you're having someone build the website for you, this should absolutely be part of their normal setup service that they do. Most web developers that I work with or that I know, even if the client doesn't readily supply the Google Analytics code, they will ask for it because they know that it's very important for the effectiveness of the website to be measured. Here's an example of one helpful Google Analytics report. This is part of a category of reports called audience reports. Now, just a little bit of a disclaimer, this screenshot that you're seeing is actually part of the older version of Google Analytics. There's a new version that has been released that looks slightly different. However, this report is also very important for you to understand the value of. So even though this is a little dated, we still mention it. Now, audience reports provide insight into characters of your users, the characteristics, of your users, such as demographics, interests, geography, language, behavior, technology, and devices. Many business owners have preconceived notions about their customers. Things like typical age, gender, interest, or etc. Or maybe, this happens a lot, the preconceived notion extends to what visitors want or what they think visitors want to do on the website. The value of analytics is that it can provide the data needed to understand your website visitors and potentially detect a mismatch. As you create or improve your website, you can use that information to fine-tune the site based on the data that you're receiving from the analytics reports. Now that we've talked about goals and tips for choosing a design, let's talk about the information within the website. Remember the second point, a great website is well organized. Even if you don't have a lot of web pages right now, chances are your website will grow over time. Planning how existing and future content will fit into the framework of your website will set your site up for success, not only today, but in the future. So it's imperative that you start with a plan. And this is referred to as an information architecture plan. Information architecture, or IA, sounds technical, but you don't need to be a web designer, programmer, or an architect to create one. Simply put, it's a plan to organize the information that you will have on your website. The IA maps out the sections, pages, and functionality of your site. There are several pages and sections found on most websites, including the home page, the About Us page or section, and the contact page. Those are usually the consistent pages on all websites. Depending on your business, you will probably include a product or service section as well. But how do you really organize that information? The best way is by considering your overall business goals. Earlier in the session, we talked about business goals. Think about those goals as you're planning out your website. Let's take a look at an example. This example business that we're going to review together sells jewelry. And you will see that their products are organized by jewelry type. Now, think about your business and what your customers or clients might be looking for when they visit your website. How can you organize the information so that there's an easy flow to your site? So on the sort of very skeletal outline of the website that we're looking at right now, you can see there's the home page, the About section, the product section is organized into category of jewelry. So we have rings, watches, and necklaces, and then of course, contact, which is standard. Here are a few tips to get you started. When you're choosing names and fields for parts of your site, keep them short and descriptive. And as you create your website plan, remember to keep the most important information in the main navigation. That information will depend on your business and, of course, your overall business goals. That plan can help you to create or select the most appropriate web design or web design template. To get started, define your ideal target audience, and we already reviewed how you can begin to do that earlier in the presentation. Next, ask yourself, what do you want people to take away from the website? Even better, if you can, ask a few of your potential customers or actual customers what they think the key takeaways from your website should be. Think about the questions that people usually ask you about your business. Make a list of keywords related to your business and see if it makes sense for you to incorporate any of them into your overall navigation and organization of the site. Use lists to keep site content, colors, icons, imagery and other elements consistent with goals. Make a list of information and features that you have currently, as well as features that you may want to add in the future. Again, when you make these lists, you will want to review all of this information and analyze exactly how everything that you have assembled will help you to reach your overall business goals. And I know you're probably saying to yourself, she keeps mentioning business goals, but at the end of the day, if everything that you're doing from a marketing perspective is not in some way moving the needle towards your business goals, then I would highly recommend that you reevaluate either the tool itself or the way that you're using the tool. Now, a few slides ago, we introduced Google Analytics. Here's another available report, and this report is called the Behavior Flow Report. And once again, this is from the older version of Google Analytics, but understanding the usage of these reports is what's most important. Now, Behavior Flow Reports visualize the paths that users travel from one page to the next. Understanding these reports is important because it helps you to discover what content keeps users engaged with your site and also to identify potential content issues. Understanding the visitor path can help you to organize your website in a way that, you guessed it, supports your business goals. We've talked about goals and organization. The next thing you need to consider is creating relevant content and experiences no matter what device your visitors use. And we should all be just preparing ourselves with the fact that the majority of our visitors are accessing our site from their mobile phones. Let's talk about mobile. Did you know that more than 50% of all web traffic is now coming from smartphones and tablets? Consumers expect to be able to use your website on their phones, and it should not be hard for them to do so. In fact, 46% of people say they would not purchase from a brand again if they had an interruptive mobile experience, and I'm completely guilty of that. Like the minute things start going wrong on the phone, I just X out and I move on to something else, or I seek a vendor where I wouldn't have these problems. Making your website work on mobile devices is no longer an afterthought. It has to become your priority. The good news, however, is that more and more websites are being built from the start with technology that automatically optimizes the website format to best fit the device it's being viewed on. This is called responsive web design. And what responsive web design does is adjust the site's appearance to best present the information based on the size of the screen as well as the type of the device. But no matter what device a visitor uses, they have to find the information on the website useful. Let's talk about useful information for your website. When you hear the term content, the first thing that probably comes to mind is text, like the words in a book. That's one type of content, but it also includes images, videos, downloads, tools, newsletter signups. For example, if your products are visual, you might want to add a photo gallery section. If your product needs to be set up, you might want to create a playlist of how-to visitors to help customers to use your products. If you sell cameras, you might offer downloadable PDF product manuals. Or if your customers need answers to questions, you can offer tools to help. For example, If your business delivers mulch to residential customers, how about adding a create a mulch calculator to help them to order the right amount? These are just examples. Think about your business. What content would be useful for your customers? What content should you be sharing on your website that would support your business's goals? Whenever possible, it is always best to create original, unique content. This is what sets your business apart from the competition. One more thing to keep in mind. As you create and publish content on your website, consider how customers might search on Google to find that content. Be sure to include those words and phrases in your content to help Google and other search engines to find and index your site and the content within your site. For example, let's say a jogger, right? A situation of a jogger who has developed plantar fasciitis. I could never pronounce that. You know, the problems you have with your feet. It hurts a lot. It's happened to me before. Your website might sell the perfect shoe with inserts to address this problem. But what if the jogger doesn't really know why they're having pain in their feet, right? So your website might include content that describes heel pain. So that person may not know what it's called, but they may just go onto Google and search for relief for heel pain or extreme foot pain or something like that. And having those keywords in your website will actually help that person to find your product. If you're not sure how people search on Google, different scenarios. Scenario one, you run a shoe repair business. People either call or stop by to get quotes on their repairs. You could create an online form for customers to submit their information and a picture of their needed repair so that they can just easily get a quote online without actually having to visit the store. Scenario two, you answer the same set of questions on the phone every single day. How can you use your website to help this? You can create a simple web page with a frequently asked questions section and help customers to find the answers on their own to the most basic questions that you know are commonly asked. Remember not to add functionality just for the sake of it. It should always have a good purpose. Adding functionality that helps customers is one thing to consider. For example, if you own a restaurant and your customers constantly ask about the option to place their takeout orders online, think about just simply adding an online ordering page to your website. This will cut down on the phone calls. Customers typically want to minimize the amount of time spent performing tasks on your website. Try to minimize steps in the checkout process with features like mobile payments. Keep your forms short and sweet. Avoid interruptions like too many frequent pop-ups when visitors land on your website. And don't embed videos that will autoplay with the sound on when visitors land on your website. That can be very annoying. Have the sound be turned off. And if the visitors are interested, then they should be able to turn it on. Also, don't trade user experience for beautiful design. In case of a website, it should always be function over form. We've covered some big picture topics, including goals, organization, functionality. Now let's take a look at how easy it is to navigate your site. This section is focused on design, but not how pretty it looks, how intuitive it is. In other words, does your site design naturally lead visitors through a process on the site? Can visitors use your site without struggling or even thinking too hard when they need to accomplish tasks? These are things you should be asking yourself. A design that's easy to use can have significant impact on whether your site supports your goals. Let's take a look at a few things to consider when building a great experience for your website visitors. First, the navigation. Make it easy to get around your site. You can do this by highlighting elements that are selected. For example, when choosing options on an e-commerce store. Designing your site to allow plenty of space for users to tap, think mobile here, is very important. Your site should also include clear calls to actions and make it tappable to take visitors directly to the content that they want to access. Next, make it easy for customers to shop, continue shopping, and or come back to an earlier page to ensure that they come back to the site even if they take a break. Notice that in this example, the business has added a helpful Add it to Cart button that allows customers to continue shopping. Another tip is to recommend similar products throughout the shopping experience to make it easy for them to find what they need. And I am so guilty of always going down that rabbit hole. I say to myself, I know I need XYZ, and sure enough, the site starts recommending additional products, and all of a sudden, I came to the site to buy 5 things, and all of a sudden, I have 10 in my shopping cart. Most important tip of all, I think, is to make it easy for visitors to check out and pay on mobile devices. How many of you have visited a website and tried to check out only to have difficulty entering your credit card numbers or updating order details? A difficult checkout process can have a major impact on a website's conversion rate. Here are some things you can do to make it easier for your visitors to check out. Reduce the number of steps in the checkout process. Show visitors progress as they move through the checkout process. And this lets them know they are just about to be done. So you know how they kind of have the countdown, like step 3 or 4, step 4 or 5, step 3 or 4, step 4 or 4, you know you're done, right? So the image you see on the screen shows the checkout progress for Janus motorcycles. Use guest checkout so visitors don't have to create an account just to make a purchase. Just make sure that before they log off, you offer them the option to sign up or save their profiles for next time. And you should do this preferably after the transaction is complete. And lastly, be sure to enable digital wallets such as Google Play or Apple Pay to make payment even easier. Since we know that mobile is so important, it's a good idea to be sure that your website is compatible with all devices. Google's Chrome Inspector tool, found within Google Chrome, helps you to test your website's compatibility from all different devices. Okay? And so the screenshot is showing an example of a site with the Google Chrome Inspector tool revealing the HTML for the website. And what it does is it tests to see how compatible your website is across devices. To use the Google Chrome Inspector, and many people like to take a quick snapshot of this slide, so just in case they're curious as to what's going on with their website before they get a copy of the presentation, you will navigate to your website in a Chrome browser, right-click anywhere on the web page. From the pop-up window that comes up, select Inspect. On the right-hand toolbar, select the icon labeled Toggle Device Toolbar. And this will display a drop-down menu above your website labeled Responsive. From there, you can use the drop-down menu to view how your website appears on all devices. All right, so I'll leave this up for a couple seconds so you can take a snapshot of this slide. I think it's really important, and a lot of people like to test this right away to see exactly how your website responds on different devices. Okay, last but not least, a great website is search friendly. At this point, You would have invested lots of resources building a business website. You want to be sure people can find it when they search online. The process of helping a website increase its visibility on search engines is called search engine optimization, or SEO. SEO actually can be a full-day presentation, but in this section, we'll try to give you some tips as to how you can get your website off to a pretty good start. Being findable in Google search results is critical for the success of every business website, and your website's traffic will depend heavily on it. Most people use search engines first when they're looking for answers, and that's true for 75% of smartphone owners and users. The image we're viewing together should look familiar to just about everyone, but let's break it down by sections. At the top, you see a word, phrase, or even a question that the searcher typed. This is called your search query. Below the search query, you see the search results, and the results can include ads, and these are usually identified by a sponsored or ad label. On this screenshot, you see shopping ads with thumbnail images of the products for sale. Below that, you see a text ad. Underneath the ads, in the center well of the page, you see the start of the natural or organic results. Creating a search-friendly site helps increase your chances of appearing in this center well, or the organic results. Google's algorithm identifies organic results, or the most relevant and useful matches for the search. Getting clicks from within that center well, or the organic results, are free. It's important to note that websites cannot pay Google to appear in organic results, and advertising does not influence a website's organic presence or position. On the right sidebar, you see a business profile on Google. Local businesses with a storefront or a service business area can create a free business profile using a tool called Google My Business, which shows information on Google search and maps. Now that you understand the elements of a search results page, it might be helpful to understand how Google decides what information to display and the mechanics of how search works. Imagine that the web is a book with trillions of pages. Google's job is to read the book, categorize pages, and help searchers find the information on those pages. Sound easy? To read the pages, Google uses software called a web crawler or spider. As new pages are found, they are added to Google's index. When people search, results are then pulled from within that index. To find the most relevant results, Google's algorithm uses over 200 signals. Some examples of things they look for are the freshness of the content, the number of other websites linking back to your website, the quality of the content, the URL and page title, and whether the best result in the web page is an image or a video or a snippet or a news article, so the quality of the content. Websites that want to improve their chances of appearing or appearing higher in Google search results use search engine optimization. Now, some people hire companies or consultants to help with SEO, and others take a stab at doing it themselves. Here are a few tips for helping your website appear in search results. Optimize for load time, especially for mobile devices. To do so, you can test your site's mobile speed by going to g.co/testmysite. The tool generates a free report that outlines areas on how you can improve your site. Use original content. Useful, information-rich, clear, and accurate content should always be used, and you should always include keywords that users would type when they're searching for information about products and services that you provide. For links, especially within the navigation, use as much text as possible. And if there's an image included, make sure to include relevant alt tags or alt descriptions, which is pretty much a description of the image. This is also useful for people who use screen readers. And adding internal links will help your website visitors to find other areas and other information in your website. Your website should also include descriptive page titles and accurate page descriptions. Many content management systems include areas where you can add them for each page. Make each page title and description unique to each page. Remember we spoke about information architecture? It not only helps your human visitors, it also helps Google to interpret the content, including what's most important and what's less important on your website. Remember to design your site for all browsers, device types, and sizes, including desktops, tablets, and smartphones. Another tool from Google that can help you to monitor, maintain, and troubleshoot your site's presence is Google search results, is Google Search Console. This is another free tool from Google, and it measures your website's search traffic and performance, and it allows you to fix issues to help your site look its best in Google search results. Even if you won't be using Search Console yourself, you should be aware of it and become familiar with the basics of optimizing your site for search engines. If you hire someone to help with SEO, Search Console will likely be used to monitor website traffic, optimize your ranking, and understand how the site appears in search results. And you can access Search Console by going to g.co/Search Console. Signing up is free. You would just visit the Search Console website. You will need to add the website property to your Search Console, verify your ownership, and you can create a property that includes an entire domain or just limited to a specific section of the site. So maybe you want it to be your entire XYZ at .com, or maybe you're just interested in monitoring the e-commerce portion of your website. Once verification is complete, your account will be ready and it will start collecting data for reports. All right? And if you're going to use Search Console, I highly recommend that you visit the Help Center to get in-depth instruction about how to use it. But here are a few highlights of things that you'll be able to monitor. You will be able to receive an email if any unusual events occur within your website, so things like hacking and that sort of thing. You will also get emails if the tool picks up that there are any sort of site violations in terms of Google's quality standards. You can check your Search Console status at any time to make sure that your site is performing the way that it should. So here's a quick look inside what the Search Console would look like, right? So you would have access to your performance report, your URL inspector, and of course, your mobile usability to see exactly what's going on with the site. Okay, so we're almost at the end of our time today. Finally, you should think about your website not as your total presence online, but a small piece of the online puzzle. You have many ways to connect with your audience online. Sometimes you meet your customers in other ways like Google Ads or from your YouTube channel. Be sure to connect in all the ways possible and think of all the possible ways that your business should appear online to help customers interact with you in the way that you would like them to. We've covered a lot of information today, so let's talk about what you should do next once I let you go in a few minutes. Start by making a list of business goals that you want to use your website to support. If you're building a new site, choose a design that works on all browsers and devices. Thirdly, create or recreate a plan for your content. And we call this your website's information architecture. And once you have your plan, start adding that content. The more often you publish useful original content, the better your site will be. Think about how your website can offer functionality that supports your business goals. Before investing the time and resources to build a custom tool, it's worth it to see if there's any existing software that can be bought or licensed that may be less expensive. And of course, last but not least, be search engine friendly. If search engines can't find your website, potential customers will have a difficult time finding it to begin with. Here are some additional resources from Google that you can access to get even more information about websites and other Google tools. If you want to sharpen your business and marketing skills, check out Primer. It's an app available for both Android and Apple devices. And here you can access a series of short, fun exercises that are all less than 5 minutes each. Another great resource are Google's Quick Help videos. Here you can get answers and learn how to make the most of Google's tools in just a few minutes. And you would just go to g.co/grow/quickhelp. And you can watch the mini videos. A lot of them are done demonstration style so that you can actually follow along as you get instruction. If you'd like to seriously consider continuing your education, consider attending some Grow on Air workshops, and you can register for them on your own time by going to g.co/growonair. As a reminder, Grow with Google is a new initiative to help people prepare for work, find jobs, and grow their businesses. And if you really want to find out more about the program, you can just visit google.com/grow. So that is the official end of the presentation. At this time, I'll take another peek in the questions box to see if anyone has any questions, and I'll invite my co-host to say a parting word, and then I'll have you guys get back to the rest of your afternoon. Okay. So great question. Is an initial pop-up to gain a customer emails for newsletter updates with a good discount code not a good idea? It is absolutely a great idea. Ty, I actually recommend that to all of my clients, but it should not be annoying. A lot of the times you can set it to just pop up once within 24 hours by recognizing the IP address of the person that's visiting the site so that it's not popping up repetitively, and it should only pop up once during that visit. Okay, and this is usually very effective if you have an e-commerce business with products, because everybody likes that first time discount. So absolutely, yes, you should still do that as long as it's not annoying. Okay, that was a great question. Yes, Ty is saying he has a pop-up. That's actually absolutely great. Are you able to provide names of web designers, creators that are available? I actually not allowed on this webinar anyway to endorse any sorts of web designers. If you guys if the person that asked the question wanted to send me an email, I'd be happy to recommend the people that I work with personally in my hat number 2, my digital agency space, but I'm not gonna specifically endorse anyone on Google webinar, but I'd be happy to assist offline if you need me to. And actually there's somebody who responded, and he's saying hi. Okay, Tasha actually responded. She's one of our co-hosts who is able to help with web design. So Tasha, if you wanted to share your information in the chat, maybe for anybody that needs help, please feel free to do so. Thank you. I just saw your answer. That's great that you can help with that. Okay. Are there mentors available for questions as we build our websites? That question could possibly be asked to your individual organizations. I know many of the organizations on the call do provide one-on-one consultation. So at this time, I will open the floor to the co-host. And one of the questions is, do any of you provide services and one-on-one coaching as a business owner attempts to build or revamp his or her website? So Tasha, I guess you can take a stab at this, or anyone else from the co-host panel. Anyone?
Hi, this is Tanya from the Small Business Development Center. And most of the advisors at all the different centers across the U.S. Do provide one-on-one advising. We don't do deliverables, so we wouldn't actually do the physical work of designing the website, but we would advise, through that process and be able to check on it and give feedback. And so that is something that we absolutely do.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, you guys. So you have been an amazing audience. Lots of great questions. Hopefully this session was really helpful for you. I know it's a lot of information, which is why getting the recording and a copy of the presentation is important, so you can kind of take your time and digest everything. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today's workshop, and I hope that you will be joining us again. If anyone in the co-host panel wanted to say any closing words, this would be your opportunity to do so before we say goodbye for the afternoon. Anyone?
Hi, this is Tasha. It was a great session, and I think everybody kind of learned that building a website is a lot more than just, the aesthetics of it. There's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes just to make sure your website is found. And that's the most time-consuming part, I think, a lot of the times. But it was a great session. Thank you for everybody for attending.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so have a great rest of your afternoon. Be well, and look out within the next 24 hours for the recording and a copy of the presentation. Have a great one, everyone, and a nice weekend.